Little spinning dial. Oh, here we are. And we're live.
The broadcast is live.
Hi, Lois-Anna.
Hi, Andrea. How are you doing?
I'm good today. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well today. Yesterday was shit, but today is pretty good. And I think, actually, I think a lot of part of the reason today is better is that I bathed, even shaved my legs, if that's not oversharing. So that was that was like exhausting, but then I felt better. But also just knowing that I had this to look forward to, just this. Sorry, I keep forgetting where I'm supposed to look. Like I said before, if I look correctly, I'm looking at my herb garden, which is weird because I really want to look at you because you're beautiful.
Aw.
But I'll try to remember to look at the herb garden when I'm speaking, and then maybe I'll just look at you when you are speaking.
I think that's okay.
Question? Was there a question? I don't even know.
I think hello.
Yesterday, was no good, and I'll get into that. But it was, like I said, it was nice to have something to look forward to today. Just have an appointment.
Yeah.
Like this afternoon, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And just by sheer coincidence, my husband decided that at 1 o'clock today, my son should practice his violin a whole bunch. So I don't know if you can hear it, but he's downstairs playing the violin. So it's part of me is kind of the mom listening, like, is he doing his, he's doing his scales. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Anyway.
No, I can't, like, every once in a while hear like a couple notes, but that's in a higher register or something.
Yeah.
I think what you mentioned about having something to look forward to, the first I don't think it was the first week, but maybe the second and third weeks when I was at home, I went through a phase where every day when I woke up, I was like, all right, it's another day to do nothing really, like to have nothing to look forward to and no plans. And it's not good for the brain. Or with some people, I know that for myself, like I need to have stuff to do. I need to be busy, and I need to have responsibilities and things to focus on.
Yeah. For me, it's like I've secretly loved it. Because I'm really introverted, and I am one of those people who, when plans are canceled, even if I was looking forward to the thing, there's like this part of me that just goes,
relax.
Oh, I can take off my bra and I can play Minecraft and or go to bed, or and that's something that I did you want to just go ahead and ask your question?
Well, the question being, have you lost
on everyone's mind? Yeah.
So again, the whole point of this vlogcast, as it were, being mental health in general, and my hope being that by being open and honest with people about the struggles that I occasionally have with mental health, whether it's related to COVID-19 or just the world and life in general, is that it will help other people who may be struggling but may not know how to articulate that, and sharing people's experiences might help with that. So you did mention that yesterday was a bad day. Like, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
We'll probably get there.
Okay, or we could talk just generally about how, so you already started talking about how being an introvert, that this has been very like pleasant in some ways for you, that you don't have to make plans and you don't have to worry about stuff like that. But have you found that being in this world right now, that COVID-19 has affected you adversely at all?
Absolutely. But maybe not in the same way that some of your previous guests have talked about. I've just seen I've seen maybe 3 or 4 or parts of 3 or 4 of your previous interviews. Just based on the things I'm seeing from my friends on Facebook and yeah, pretty much just Facebook, because where else am I seeing people other than, the people I live with? I might not be experiencing it the same way that a lot of people are. Like I said, very introverted, and like I was getting to a point at work where I was kind of like the spring months are very busy for me at work. I work for the I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I was I'm not allowed to talk about a lot. But
that's right. and fair.
In the spring,
it's
for several months, it's very busy, busy, and long hours. And I was kind of dreading it this year. Actually, maybe last fall, I was dreading I don't know. It's like I've been there almost 20 years now, and some years are great, some years not so much. It depends on different things. But this year, I was just really not feeling it. And so when this came along, like I'd even thought about quitting, even though I love my job and I'm good at it, and I love my coworkers, and it's good for me to have somewhere to go. Sometimes I just think, I'm too old for this. I just want to stay home and work on my things that I never have the energy to work on, because I seem to have spoon theory. Like I'm not a person who has a lot of spoons per day. Okay. So when I'm working lots of hours, there's kind of nothing left. Like I go home and I'm just like, I'm hooped. So I look forward to the quieter times of the year. But this year I felt something weird coming for a little while. And even before we started hearing about this, it was kind of like another sort of SARS-like thing, which when the SARS that everybody knows about and remembers. I think I was living in Toronto at the time, and it just wasn't nearly as big a thing. And when I don't think we had even heard about the first cases when I started having this feeling. And I'd like to think that I'm, it would be nice to believe that I'm special and I can sort of I'm really intuitive and I, kind of, but it's probably not the case. I'm sure it's not the case. However, I did really honestly feel something coming that was big and not necessarily horrible, but pretty world changing. I just felt like we cannot keep going the way we're going, and something is going to happen, and it's going to come quick, and it's going to sneak up on us, and we're suddenly going to be scrambling to figure out how to cope with the changes. So I have all along I've been kind of trying to prepare myself in some physical ways, like actual prepping, like having dehydrated foods in the downstairs and having water just in case. Leveling up my camping skills. that sort of thing. It's weird. But then before the spring started getting really busy, I just thought, I can't keep going. I think I need to retire, even though I'm only 54. But I can't afford to retire. But I think I need to. But and I was just back and forth and back and forth. And so the day that we all got sent home from work, it was very shocking for a lot of people. It happened really suddenly. It was like we had about a couple hours notice before we had to clean out our desks and go home indefinitely, But the day before, I had cleaned out my desk and taken a lot of stuff home. I don't know, sort of.
That was prescient of you.
Yeah, I just sort of had a premonition, or I don't know. I just was already preparing for it in my head.
Wow, that's
okay. I know that you wanted people to to be open and honest and vulnerable on here. My problem is that I have trouble not oversharing completely. Like either I'm completely withdrawn, or I'm like I never shut up, which is kind of happening right now because I'm trying to process this, but it's nerve-wracking because I know it's live and then I'm thinking, oh, I look really pink, and oh, my son is doing really good on that bob down there. So I've got a lot going on, but
that's all right.
So okay, back to what I wanted to talk about first is I feel like I'm not experiencing this isolation the way a lot of people are. Again, not to claim that I'm super special or anything, but I think anyone else out there who's very introverted might be able to relate that at the beginning when we suddenly, like, I got sent home from work and now I'm indefinite. Like I'm not really unemployed, but I'm not getting paid, and I'm sort of on hold forever or until further.
sorry to interrupt you, but so you're not able to do your work from home?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. And fortunately, my husband was finally able to work from home. And I had been wishing for that for a long time because I just like having everyone at home. I don't know, it's weird. But the day that we all just settled in, I felt this like tremendous relief and almost euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly there was an aspect of novelty probably for a lot of people. And I did see that like on Facebook, like suddenly people like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel were, suddenly Trevor Noah, they were suddenly like just in their apartment or in their house with a laptop and some movie star on the other screen, just like you and I are right now. And they were all like
normal people.
I don't even know how to do this. And like some of the interviews with people that I really enjoyed, like, the interviews were kind of super awkward, or the technology wasn't working, and then somebody would have to go on their phone and try that and they couldn't hear. And, it was like everybody in the world was kind of going through this at the same time. And it was in a way, it was kind of like New Frontier. It was kind of interesting. Then that feeling of like kind of, ooh, this is what I've always dreamed of. It was very quickly replaced by feelings of pretty intense guilt for feeling that way, knowing like at what cost I'm having I'm having suddenly my little world be kind of just the way that I've always dreamed it could be,
Mm-hmm.
um, at the expense of all of those people out there who are sick, who are dying, who have lost loved ones, who are just worried because there's someone in their life who's not, in the best physical condition to be able to fight stuff off. Um, definitely people who are working on the front lines of anything grocery, from grocery workers to nurses to firefighters to police. um, it's like it's really shitty for a lot of people, and here I am sitting in my in my home, introverting, just like in the memes that you see, like, introverts unite separately in your own home.
Yeah.
Max and Netflix, and I've got my dog at my feet, and like I can't enjoy it because it's just so many horrible things going on out there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to limit my exposure to a lot of really upsetting things, but at the same time, I don't want to be caught in my safe little bubble too much. Yeah, so it's really, really conflicting feelings. But like there's a
Yeah.
secret part of me that every day is like I wake up and I go, "Oh, I don't have to go anywhere today," and it's like it's great. But then when I do, like, I would like to go grocery shopping. I like
Yeah.
grocery shopping, like a nice evening leisurely grocery shop where you can just sort of look at, you know, see what's new.
Do
And
I need this? Yes.
yeah,
No, I'll put it back.
oh, yeah, yeah,
And I'm not
like,
gonna
this
worry
looks
about
really good. I've never seen this kind of spaghetti sauce before.
yeah. And you don't have to worry about touching it and making somebody else touching it later. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, I think probably those feelings of guilt that you've been talking about, like I think everybody probably is going through certain variations of that because I like same thing for me. Like I know that I'm in a unique position where, I mean, granted, I'm on stress leave, but at the same time, like, I'm lucky enough to be able to take that opportunity. Whereas I know that there are some people who, like, if they're living, say, in really low income situation or what have you,
Mhm.
they don't have that luxury.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a part of me is like, oh, thank God that I'm at least able to make use of this. And then there's also a part of me that's like, God, I should just suck it up. And like,
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are definite risks to being out in the world right now, but they can somewhat be mitigated. But that is also again largely dependent on like my personal economic position, because again if I didn't have any income and I had to go out there to do the things to make sure that I had food on the table. But I think though we're also getting into something that is common with mental health issues, depending on what they are, because I know that when I've occasionally been in a down spiral, that I've also had guilt for being depressed.
Right. Like, what have I got? I don't actually
Yeah,
have any real problems. Why am I so
yeah,
miserable?
I
Yeah.
don't deserve to be sad, sort of.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, especially like when I had my first bout of depression in 2012, and like there was like one of my friends had suffered a really personal, terrible personal tragedy, and I remember at the time thinking, how can I be upset about A, B, and C when like this person just like lost somebody and like
Yeah.
it was hugely traumatic, and how dare I have the feelings that I'm having. But like, and even that friend commented that, well, you can't compare sadness, or you can't compare trauma and stuff like that. And your feelings are valid, even
Mhm.
even if they're different from like my experience and what's been going on in my life. And
Mhm.
I think that's something that we need to try to, when we're having those feelings of guilt, that we need to try to remind ourselves of that too.
Yeah, you say you can't compare, but we can, and we do. Like,
We do. We
you
shouldn't
know,
compare.
we should not. It's very difficult not to, and especially now that we're, for the most part, we're not seeing other people in person. Um, we're seeing, their maybe their highlight reel, as people say, like on Facebook or Instagram, and like I,
Yeah.
excuse me, I have a few friends that, if I didn't know better, I would just look at, their Facebook feed and just go, like, oh, you're so lucky, your life is amazing and you're amazing, and but I actually know that they've got some really shitty things that, maybe they're not sharing as much about, but I know that they're there. And
Yeah.
just like, oh, we are all in this together, but it's so hard to feel that way. So like yesterday, um, like I've been working on my own mental health issues for a pretty long time. I was first diagnosed with this pretty severe depression when I was 28. So that's a long time ago, and I've had some doctors not so helpful, some doctors very helpful. One therapist in particular that was tremendously helpful for a
Mhm.
long time, and then moved to a different job, and so that was the end of that. And but I have been able to put together a pretty solid toolbox of skills and coping mechanisms,
Mhm.
um, like really, really pretty good. I've put a lot of work into it, and even even with that, every now and again there will just be a day where it just none of it works, or I can't remember what any of it is, or it just doesn't matter. Like, I think yesterday, so I don't remember exactly what it was that tipped it off, but I think it was 2 or 3 or 4 little things
Mhm.
that kind of set me back on, like, a rumination about, oh, like, it started maybe in high school, or then maybe even before that, and I started thinking about this one year where, like, everybody just nobody liked me, and, like, I just I'm gonna eat worms. It was really bad. Like, I was away from home, and there was somebody who I never figured out why just freaking hated my guts, and I've kind of never. And then I left that school and I went to a different high school the next year, and there was a different person there who was not the same gender as the first person, who also, for reasons I never figured out, just freaking hated my guts. Like wrote on my locker that I was a bitch, and
Oh.
I was the new kid, and I was just kind of shy, and I don't know, but like there seems to be something about me that just grates on a lot of people, and I've never really been able to make peace with that.
Yeah.
I'm learning, but it's still like yesterday I was thinking about that, and then um thinking about, different jobs that I've had, and And like every now and again, I'll make a friend who seems to, really think I'm okay. And then I think, why do you think I'm okay? Like everybody else frickin' thinks I'm bananas or whatever. I really don't know what people think about me.
I think what I think that's very common. Well, and because I find that when I start to spiral, and same sort of as you were describing, it can be like a few little things that will just sort of tip the balance, and then I'll be like shooting down that ski hill, as it were. And yeah, your like the mental illness, as it were, it talks to all those negative parts in your head that say, like, so the person or the people you talked about in high school, because realistically we know that whatever their issue with you was, that it had to be something that was within them, that that they need to excise or something like that. Because like I know you as a person, and you're very nice and you're very kind, and you would never do anything to somebody to deserve that kind of treatment. But as far as mental illness is concerned, no, there's something fundamentally about you. There is something in you that either you did or you said, or that
Yeah.
vibrates out of you, that makes them know that you deserve this treatment.
But I
And
think there is. So maybe I'm not as better today as I thought I was. I don't know. But I don't know, like the, I think the isolation is kind of almost feeding into a paranoia a
yeah,
little bit. I don't mean like clinical paranoia, but just like you just have a lot of time to be in your head, and
yeah,
I'm comfortable with that. I'm in my head like a lot, like a lot, and it's a pretty complicated place in there. But not having just the daily feedback and back and forth with colleagues and
yeah,
coworkers and friends and stuff, um, you start to kind of lose the plot a little bit. I think
yeah,
I don't know how you could not like so things are coming up suddenly that even though we thought we were equipped for, um, it can all just go away at
yeah.
the drop of a hat. So I think we need to be really vigilant
Mhm.
about just like forcing ourselves to reach out when all of a sudden things are bad and we feel like I don't know if I can freaking keep going, or I don't know how to handle this. Um, and it's not necessarily going to be um, just right and perfect on the first try. I mean, like I'm speaking as someone who, well, like I said, had seen some really good mental health professionals and some that were not even remotely like were not just not helpful, but were like harmful,
Detrimental.
super harmful. In fact, but one doctor that I was talking to about this with years ago, he was a very serious guy, and um, he said to me one day, "I'm going to tell you a joke." I thought, like, really? Are you? And he said, what do you call a med student who gets D minuses in all their classes? And I said, I don't know. And he said, doctor. And I thought,
Mhm.
yeah, uh,
It's not
yeah,
really helping this feeling right
right.
now.
So my point being that reaching out isn't just like a one and done thing. Like you're not
No.
necessarily going to call one number and get that one person that, I mean, you for sure.
Yeah.
And it's super important that you at least do something. But if that first person you talk to isn't able to completely help you, certainly they can point you in directions to people who can and really want to help you.
Yeah.
But it's confounding because sorry to interrupt you, but like I have there's a family in my extended family with kids around the same age as me and a little bit older. Two of them have had lots of mental health struggles and have been, getting, you know, have been getting help with them and dealing with some really heavy stuff. Um, and then all of a sudden, one of the other ones just killed himself out of the blue, and he'd never he had been visiting his sibling in the psych ward, not all that long before, and was like being their rock and and like it's confounding. Like nobody saw that coming.
yeah.
And the thing is that we take turns, and I don't want to say being the strong one or the weak one, because I don't believe in those. I don't believe those words work the way that a lot of people use them.
Yeah.
We take turns handling things and then not being able to handle things for a while. And there's absolutely no shame in, like, if you're the one who like is traditionally considered the person, the strong one, or
The one who's together.
the one who, yeah. Like I had a friend on Facebook the other day say, I'm so tired of being the strong one, of always having to be the strong one.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it depends how you're defining strong, but I just like, we all have times when we're coping and times when we're not. And when we keep it bottled up because we don't want to upset anybody, we're doing ourselves and everybody else a disservice.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, I think, is like one of the greatest gifts that we have as human beings. I can't imagine, having a relationship with someone who is unable to show any vulnerability. I mean, I guess in the past, like maybe I did have a couple of relationships like that, and they were like, nope, that just doesn't work. We got to be real with each other, and the facade just doesn't help anybody. So, like, I'm not advocating that people just use things like Facebook or whatever to just like constantly complain and vent and whine about their like, that's not what I mean by vulnerability, but by like being able to show or share things that delight them, or things that worry them, or things that they just noticed, something neutral. It doesn't have to be a positive or a negative thing, but I think I had a point, and I think
I think I'm picking up what you're laying down. And it's something that I've commented on, that like it's okay to not be okay. But sometimes being not okay just means being by yourself and taking some time and stuff like that. But I have found generally that in the times when I really am struggling, that it's been far better in the long run for me to admit that, and like you don't necessarily want to put it on your, say, friends or coworkers or whatever, because I remember in that time when I was first really battling depression, it was at a point where I would be in my office. I was working for Ag Canada at the time as a photographer and graphic designer, and I worked. The group that I worked with was half dozen middle-aged men, so men that I arguably wouldn't have much of anything in common with. And my big concern at the time was that they would come into my office just to be like, "Hey, you want to go for coffee or to talk about a project or something?" And that they would find me in tears. And I think the one time Mark maybe did, or at least he was aware that there was clearly something not right with me at the time. And and I, at that point, I was just honest with him and just sort of told him, look, I've been miserable for a few weeks, and here's some of the reasons why, and I'm just trying to work through it. And then we ended up talking to my boss about, and that was when I first was like, okay, I need outside help for this. And like they were really understanding, and they allowed me, an hour a week so that I could go and see my therapist. And it was like you were talking about basically the importance of fit with a therapist. And like I recognize how lucky I am that my therapist has been a great fit for me, because I know other people as well who have had therapists that have actually exacerbated problems rather than helped. And I think it really comes down to style and just personality fits. Like any relationship with anybody that you ever meet, some personalities fit together really well, and others just don't.
And some doctors got D-minuses in all of their classes and are say super misogynist. Just for an example, just off the top of my head. But yeah, I did have an actual psychiatrist tell me that the wind just blew the door open. Right. Whoa. That was crazy. It's been so
it's happening.
The door was shut all the way. Anyway, yes, I had a doctor tell me that I just needed to get married, and then everything would be okay. Because I was a very dependent person, and and I just needed a nice strong man to just look after me. And oh my goodness, I can tell you stories, but I won't. What I did want to say, and I feel like I've used up way too much time already, and I didn't even say most of the things that I wanted to say. But self-awareness is pretty huge. I think it's something that can help us through some of the most difficult times. And what I just for an example, like Andrea, do you happen to know your Myers-Briggs type?
I don't.
You don't?
I'm aware of what they are generally, but I've never done one.
Yeah, I could probably take a pretty good guess, but so there, for people who don't know about the Myers-Briggs types, so this is based on Carl Jung's personality theory from way back, and it's pretty helpful. Not necessarily a huge fan of labels always, but they can be a really useful starting point in a lot of ways. So Myers-Briggs type, there are going to be 4 letters. Like, for example, I'm an INFP. And for each letter, there's only 2 choices.
Okay.
So there's 16 possible types, personality types that, and this is just like, it's a starting point, which can be really helpful, not just for figuring out your own self, and like why do I react the way I do to things, or why do I have certain tendencies that are so different from other people, or what, like, how could that person possibly, hell's going on? This is helpful in workplaces and in families, and so also right now, because so many people are kind of in lockdown together. Say you've got 4 people in your house, and one is very introverted, and a bunch of other stuff, and then all the other people are very extroverted, and so they're just like, why is this person always hiding in their room? Why, come out and talk to us. And the other, it is just, it's a gong show. It can be a gong show. I've been reading stuff here and there on Reddit about, these poor introverted folks around the world, mostly young people, and they're stuck in a house full of people that are making them insane or feel insane. And they can't escape, or they're in there with people who are aggressive or violent, and so
yeah. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm just noticing that we're at the 41-minute mark.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So, but what we can do,
go to 16types.com and find your type, and figure out how you're interacting with. Shoot, I went way over. I knew I was bad too.
Don't worry about it. But I am putting that 16types.com up on the screen. So
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. That's a very helpful starting point. And it helps, self-awareness helps with self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And can put some things in context.
Yeah. And it can help you de-escalate a situation when you do start to spiral. Once you start to get to understand, like, for lack of a better description, your triggers, or the things that do make you start to get internalized and think, now I'm terrible for A, B, and C. Being aware of what makes you that way is a powerful tool in helping to reverse that, or at least not let it get away on you. So so rather than the question, what the fuck is wrong with me, pardon my language, it becomes like, oh, this, these are some legitimate reasons. This is how my brain works. This is how I'm wired, and so this is how it manifests. And it helps you to be not so hard on yourself, but also not so hard on other people too. So acceptance is going to be the thing that helps most. I just want to leave you with a quote. I think it's from Murray McLaughlin. I was going to say, I thought Gordon Lightfoot, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's Murray McLaughlin. That would be okay too.
Who has struggled with some severe depression, and gave the best advice that I'd ever heard for when things when things really go sideways and you don't know what else to do. And his quote was just, hunker down and hold on. And I remember when I first heard that, I wrote it down, and like I carried it around in my wallet for years and years, until it just became part of my my psyche. Just hunker down and hold on. So a lot of people are hunkering down now. Just hold on. Nothing ever, there's always another day that could well be better.
Yeah. And I can't remember who to attribute the quote to, but I seem to remember reading somewhere about how if you're reading this, you have 100% success rate of getting through your worst days. And
exactly.
And I think that's something that we all kind of need to hang on to. All right. So we like to end on a positive note. So
Mhm.
do you have any go-tos in terms of when you do need a chuckle or you need something that's going to make you smile, like just like that? Do you have any of those that you can share with us today?
Yeah, old Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner comedy routines,
Yeah.
especially the 2000-Year-Old Man, but not just that. Like,
Mhm.
seek out any of this and or just anything that Mel Brooks ever did, pretty much. I mean, he's my comedic hero. He can make me laugh no matter what, even if I've heard the bit, 100 times before.
Mhm.
A podcast called Sleep With Me podcast where a wonderful young man tells bedtime stories for grown-ups and is or in the day you can just pop on one of those podcasts and he'll just be a friend in the deep dark night or the deep dark day, as it
Mhm.
were. He's been helping me. His podcast has been helping me sleep for like a year and a half since I
Yeah.
found out about it. It's terrific. And Minecraft, it's so immersive and it makes sense. Like, if something works this way in Minecraft today, same thing is going to work the same way, until they do maybe an update. But it's a world that I can understand that has parameters and challenges and obstacles, but it's got um, what you're dealing with,
Yeah.
and um, you can feel in control of something.
Hmm. Yeah, because that's what I think a lot of us are feeling we're lacking right now, any control over our
Yeah.
situation. So,
So it's escapism. It's fun. It's super immersive, and yeah, it can be very normalizing. I found for
mhm,
me.
that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Lois-Anna, for joining us on us. I see 0 viewers, but hopefully some people will want to see this. If not, it was good just to visit. So,
For sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm sorry I went twice as long as I should have. I was afraid I might, but I think that's how I roll. So
that's okay. We're in the perfect time for things like that to happen right now. All right. So we're gonna wrap this up and possibly have you back for an episode 2 at some point. So
okay,
all right.
okay.
So
So
bye.
nice to see you,
It was
Andrea.
great to see you
Take
too.
care.
Okay, bye.